sleep company. I'm sure a lot of you guys would have heard because of Anil Kapoor and a lot of their cool products and brand marketing that they do. But they are a home and more like a comfort category where they have products like beds, mattresses, chairs, etc. So Nirav leads the whole D2C there. And we'll deep dive into some of the insights, like how do you build a omni-channel brand, solve for the multi-touch purchase funnel, etc. So Nirav will get started.
Thanks, Nitya, for the wonderful introduction. We can start, yeah.
Sure. So Nirav, so in your category, right, you guys have, products which users evaluate a lot. They look at the products, they try and get a feel of it, etc. Right? So that complicates the whole purchase journey or funnel, right? It's a multi-day or multi-week, I would say, purchase funnel when the user actually comes, discovers your product and then ends up buying. And there are multiple touch points as well. So how do you break that funnel down? How do you visualize it? And then how do you solve that funnel? If you can give us a little insights on those.
Sure. So mattress as a category is pretty interesting category. Like let me give you some facts. Like 33% of our life is spent sleeping. But nobody thinks about it. We have seen users who purchases bed above a certain amount and then they don't care about mattresses. Like, I'm not sure out of this entire room, how many of you know that what mattress are you sleeping on, right? And then it suddenly becomes a point where you think that it's the most important because my back is hurting right now, or I'm not able to sleep and this is the most important thing in my life. Second, when it comes to the online journey, it's not a traditional, why I'm saying traditional D2C model is, you're talking about an AOV about 25, 30 grants. You're not talking about impulse purchases at all. You're not talking about something that has been seen and you're just category comparing or it's commoditized. You're talking about that user always wanted to have touch and feel and then you venture into an online space and then try to crack it. I think for us, our major KPI, where we say North Star metric, is not only in terms of sales, but it's also in terms of reducing from conversion to abandoned cart ratio. And how do we reduce that time period when a person has come to our website, completed the purchase? We have seen cycles up to 30, 35 days. And for us, the second most important part is, from our category perspective, is not only the website, but what is there out there in the market. What's our reviews saying, what's organic listings, what is currently happening in the market, and then it all boils down. Then comes the most difficult part, that how do you explain a purchase which was always offline, which was always seen like this, pressing kitna ho raha hai, and then you suddenly ask user ki ye dekho, or then you close it, right? And that's where we try to build in terms of what are hooks, what are corners. Studied the consumer, that what are they right now clicking on, what are they right now wanting to hear. We went through around 500 YouTube videos in terms of what were the questions asked. And you won't believe that there were questions asked, 6 inch ka kitna niche jayega, 4 inch ka kitna niche jayega. And then you have to solve those particular problems back on your website. I think that's where we are able to create a category, and that's what we're working on.
Quite interesting. So when you guys started optimizing, right, how long did the purchase funnel, you mentioned 30, 35 days, and how have you seen the trends, evolving as the average come down, the whole purchase cycle and funnel, and how has that happened? Like, what levers have you pulled to make that happen?
So there are two parts to it. The first one is the entire ecosystem helps you out. You have the Prime Day sale, you have all the online sales that are currently going on, and the consumer starts behaving that this is the cycle that I'm going to make a purchase. So that's where you see maximum number of conversion. Second, in terms of category, mattress as a category does not have a seasonality per se at a pan-India level. But you would start seeing at a state level. You would start seeing highest number of mattresses being sold in Kerala during Onam. In Maharashtra, you would start seeing maximum number during Gudi Padwa. And that's where you start personalizing what are the offers, campaigns that can be run, slicing and dicing in terms of cohorts, cutting into states, and then comes the wedding season. So this is how you try to purchase. You try to find out the flavor for each of the month, and then try to work upon it and then reduce the cycle. We were able to reduce the cycle from 30 days to 8 to 9 days currently. And that's what we're looking, and we need to reach to a 3 or a 4 day number.
Wow. And if you can also deep dive a little, how does this cycle look like multi-day cycle, right? Like, what's the whole cycle or journey for the user? If you were to visualize it, break it down a little, can you add some flavor to that?
Got it. So again, two parts to it. One is in terms of a normal category, which is online mattresses or mattresses, right? That is a cluttered space. That is a space that is very difficult to compete in, and also in terms of right from cost of acquisition to creating a niche. And then there is a particular category which is coming in terms of ortho, where we have seen lots of people purchasing mattress due to a certain reason, and that's where we come into picture. Right? We are solving your problems. You will never find a. Earlier, the purchase used to happen that I want to purchase a mattress. Aisa hona chahiye. I don't know what problem it is solving. We are trying to have products, categories, SKUs, where we are able to solve a certain problem, and then you have a long tail keyword. That's where the first thing starts. Second is in terms of coming onto the website, having the entire traversing, and there is a standard SOP in terms of how the website should look, what are the key pointers, what are the key features, and then the financial payments, etc. That starts coming into picture, and then we close the entire cycle.
Interesting. So you're saying you've picked up niches and categories where user come in with a specific agenda and end up buying with that. And for the general mattress category as well, how does it look like? So post discovering your brand and product, do you, in terms of behavior, do you see people going out and searching for reviews, talking to people, or do a lot of people come via referrals, etc., building that trust? How does that go about in terms of the whole purchase cycle, trust building, etc.? What are some of the things that you guys have worked on to increase that trust factor? Because the AOV is high, or the cost is high, so, and people would be evaluating or thinking twice before purchasing. So what kind of behavior that you've seen, and how you guys have solved that trust for users?
The first is in terms of number of attribution that we have seen goes beyond 6. It as minimum as 3 and as max as 11 or 12, where the user is going across YouTube, across Instagram, going through multiple reviews. What has built the trust is the product. I don't think so anything else apart from the product can build the trust. It can work in short term, but in long term, over a period of 2.5 years, the quality of the product, what people are feeling about it, and the trust that we can bring in terms of 100 days policy, no question asked. Those are the things that starts building us the trust for us. And that starts percolating across our reviews, across our this thing. And then you start seeing a word of mouth reference as well. To give you an example, right? See one particular cohort as a new building completely, right? You have got couple of flats coming to you purchasing a mattress. Now this particular person is going to join a WhatsApp group for a new building, all excited, and they all are talking about what have you bought, what have you bought. And this particular person then talks about, I bought this particular mattress, why don't you also try it? And then it becomes a complete loop. Now the question for us to solve is that how do I get into this new building altogether? What are the consumer cohorts? What we end up doing is in terms of a pin code address level, the vintage of the building, what sort of communication should go to that particular person, and how that particular person can become a brand ambassador for us. So these are some of the slicing and dicing we try to do in terms of getting back the consumer, reducing the cost of acquisition.
That's quite interesting. So does the referral play a good part, and are you guys able to track that in your category, or it's like, just gets merged and lost with the organic? Because it's tricky, right? Attribution is a difficult challenge to solve, because there would be some referral and then they search on Google, and it's attributed to maybe a search ad or something. Are you guys able to track, or do you guys do customer interviews and conversations where you get to know that a lot of customers are happy and end up referring your products, being ambassadors for you guys?
Honestly, we have not been able to crack the referral code, right? Are we giving up on it? No, we are not giving it up. The thing is that we need to understand consumers, right? Like for us, the basic and everything is understand the consumer cohort. Understand how a person in Mumbai is going to purchase a mattress as compared to somebody sitting in Howrah who is going to bring it, or somebody sitting in Bhagalpur or Jabalpur, right? For us, that is pretty interesting. How does referral program work? We have tried multiple things that has still not worked, but we still do think there's a scope of it because our repeat purchases have started kicking in, right? Initial 6 months, 8 months, you have the second mattress cycle. Second is the referral program is typically working us for the second purchase as compared to completely talking about a new consumer, because it's very difficult to tell a person who has bought a mattress that you refer somebody else, I'm going to give you a discount on the next mattress that you're going to purchase. So that's a pretty long cycle, right? I know lots of people are thinking, ye kyun nahi karte, ye kyun nahi dete. We have tried that, but one day we'll be going to reach there in terms of cracking the referral program.
Interesting. And let's switch gears. So other day we were talking about, you guys building out the offline, right? And then the omni-channel kind of thing. So if you can throw some light on how does offline look for you? When did you guys start that offline journey? And then what were some of the insights that came in which led to the decision or evaluation that let's do offline, right? Okay, if you can throw some light on the offline part and how it came about.
So when we're talking about offline, right? First, ours is a zero inventory model. We don't need to keep inventory within this thing. So it's consider it as more of an experience store as compared to a place selling SKUs. And that's where this thing happens. What we realized, I think, last July, when we opened our first store, it was an experiment. Let's open the first store and see how it does. What we realized, the number of repeat purchases, the number of single size orders started increasing. Instead of people buying one mattress, they started seeing 2 or 3 mattresses. Second, we started getting new cohorts, which always thought, ki yaar, I've seen the ad of the brand. I know XYZ celebrity endorses it. Third, I've not seen their offline presence. So the one of the major factors that apart from driving revenue, conversions, everything, I think one of the major factors that offline plays for us is in terms of building trust and building the brand. And that really helps out. Like, if anybody is from Bangalore, I've keep getting calls, ki, yaar, I saw your store right in front of Third Wave Coffee. And I saw people sleeping there, and this is. So these are the kind of things that start building trust. And second, one of the questions that I keep getting is that, offline should be cannibalizing online business. Right? Very pertinent questions for all the D2C marketer who have got 2 channels out there. What we have seen, it doesn't. For our category, it helps us out 4 cohorts. First purchase online, second purchase offline. But think from a very, very major cohort, which is first purchase offline. You are not going to go back to the experience store again and again to have the look and feel of the mattress. You're going to purchase the second one. The third one is going to come back to the online store. And that's where the offline starts coming into picture. And now we are more than 25 plus stores across 11 cities.
Wow, interesting. And you mentioned about something, just curious. So do you have people coming in and saying, hey, I'm tired, let me come and sleep for half an hour, let me try out. Have you seen those cases? Do you allow people to do that? If someone wants to, take a nap at your stores. Have you seen such cases?
No, we definitely have. We have seen people coming as a family, and one of the members saying here, I'm sleeping till the time you just figure it out. 15, 20, so I'll be able to test the product as well. And especially with recliner beds, we have seen that a lot.
Wow, that's interesting. And talking about the online and offline pieces, right? How do you see these merge eventually, the online and offline? And how do you see those, are those cannibalizing? You mentioned something, right? Are those cannibalizing? Are those complementing? If complementing, then how do they work in sync?
We don't have any previous baggage of offline stores, right? Right from structure of the store, the layout of the store, the customer experience, everything is from ground up. And then the entire team thinks digital, right? What we try to do is superimpose your online journey to an offline journey. What happens to your online journey? The first part is discovery of the platform, which is still your website. Both for online and offline, we have not built so much of store density that we go into mass media, right? So it's still digital, which is your discovery platform. Then you go to the product page, extrapolated to going to the store. Then you add to the cart, which is extrapolated to somebody saying, show me this particular product. And then you collect the data, right? So abandoned cart is equivalent to somebody asking for a product, checkout is somebody asking for a price, and purchase remains the same. And then you build journey around those cohorts, that this particular person came, asked for a product, this particular product was asked for, what are the more sort of information that they require over digital channels. That's the first part, that's how you close the loop. Second is in terms of, the biggest piece that has played for us is in terms of on-site optimization, right? You have a store in Kochi, you have people visiting from Kochi, the traffic is not that huge, you're trying to build that particular funnel. The entire website layout changes talking about the store itself, where it talks about the first banner store, talks about visit our nearest store. The second banner talks about store layout. The third banner showcases if you have the lat long, that it's just 2 kilometers away, why don't you visit it? And these are the things that are driving in terms of the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities.
And how do you guys take the decision that, what data and points that you track to take the decision that, okay, let's open a store here? Is it based on some traffic that you see, right? Some insights that you mentioned about Kochi. Would you like to give some insights from there? How did it lead to saying that let's launch a store there and let's try and cannibalize the online, users, get them offline and build that cohort? Like how that decision came about?
Primarily, it's about the first data point should be the online sales itself, that how much the pin code is driving, how much orders that are coming for those particular pin codes. Second is in terms of the category, how broad the category is in that particular market. Do you have those specific dedicated markets for those particular stores? And third would be in terms of the traffic that is coming through online visitors. And fourth, very interesting, is that we do check with our CRM team in terms of how many people said that आपका store कहाँ पर, or how many people said that why there is no cash on delivery option, or how many people come and say that why don't you open a store at our end. And then we try to extrapolate all the particular data and then come to a conclusion that this is a good city. But primarily, I think the online sales that are coming.
Interesting. And you previously also mentioned about the online and offline, right? The touch points, the journey, etc. How do you orchestrate it? And specifically, if you can also give some insights, that what kind of messaging, is it the same or does it change for an online and offline customer? And at what point these messaging also merge, in terms of the funnel and the retargeting and stuff like that?
So the messaging doesn't change. It's all about the product. The product remains the same whether you experience it online or offline. We don't want to tell people that see it online and purchase it offline. We don't want to get into that particular zone. It's more about that the product is there. If you still want to have the touch and feel of it, the nearest store is available here. The only thing that we do is in terms of all the search campaign starts having your locations, all your display campaign starts having location. Your website shows stores much more as compared to previously. So that's the only thing that we try to do, but definitely not in terms of messaging that a store would be a completely different experience from online, or online would be a completely different experience of offline. Price parity remains the same. The pricing does not change at any of the locations. And that's how you're able to build an omni-channel experience, right? You don't want consumer coming to online and saying that offline was less this thing. An offline person saying that online I saw this particular offer and you're not providing me an online space. So that's, we don't want to do it, and we try to keep it same across the board. The journey has to be the same, the product has to be the same, the experience in terms of what our store managers, what our CREs are telling the consumer has to be the same as per the content that what you're writing on the website. There has to be not even a delta of difference between what we are saying online and offline.
So it's omni-channel in its true sense, right? And that brings me to a question that what are the building blocks if someone were to think about building a omni-channel brand, right? What are the building blocks and what do you think, right? For you guys, you said, right, not having that baggage, starting digital and then going omni-channel. Do you think that works, or the vice versa can also work, right? How do you think where you have offline and you build omni-channel and digital? So the building blocks, and how do you think, right, the evolution works? Does it work vice versa, or not having the baggage helps if you were to build something like what you guys have done?
I think the best place to start is think consumer first. What does your consumer wants? What does the customer wants? If there is a need of an offline store, why is that need? Not only from a purchase or a sales or revenue perspective. It has to be thought that what problem statement it is going to solve. And that's where it starts. Second would be in terms of how differentiated offline would be from online. What is the sort of difference that you are able to cater to? So these two thoughts, and I think offline can build, but always think that online and offline together. As soon as the person starts thinking online is a different channel and offline is a different channel, and then you start looking, those who are the performance marketers, just don't look at the blended ROAS, then you are in for trouble. Because those numbers are going to definitely drop down, right? Because your conversion cycle, I think, in the offline space is still not that at that particular level where your purchase revenue started coming back to your algorithms. So look at blended ROAS, think how the city is going to move, think in terms of, think at least 15 days back, that if this is XYZ is my target, do I need to increase my spends right away, or do I need to increase it 15 days back? What your customer cohort journeys are, how many users that you had from this particular city who had never purchased from you, but you are opening a store there. Can you tap them into it for initially 15, 20 days? I think multiple cohorts, multiple problem statements.
Interesting. And brings me to another side of the topic, which is a burning challenge for a lot of brands, whether online, offline, omni-channel, which is specifically the CACs, etc. Right, which is difficult to control. So how do you guys see that situation changing? How do you guys manage that? And then online versus offline, how do you like differentiate that, or how are you able to attribute or measure the CAC for offline, or is it omni-channel, so it's all single view? Like how does this situation change, and then how do you measure that?
Lots of questions there. So the first one in terms of CAC, right? Uh, until unless you have store density or offline store density, you will not start seeing in terms of a drastic reduction in cost, right? There are the flip side to it, right? Let me give you an example that on Tuesday, the consumer visits from Borivali and then sees the entire mattress, right? And then he figures out that I have got one store in Andheri. Now that consumer starts delaying their purchase. They think I will visit over a weekend and then complete my purchase. So what happens is that online channel gets a hit. So that's where you have to start thinking, these are the questions that you need to start answering, that how do I ensure that the consumer is able to buy then and there only? I don't want them to only go to offline store but complete there. In terms of CAC, as soon as you have 6 to 8 stores in a particular city, your media spend starts getting spent appropriately, right? It's not on one particular thing. You were spending X and you're getting Y. With 10 stores, suddenly you're still spending X, but you're getting 3Y with 50 stores. So that's how it starts happening.
All right. And how do you measure the CAC for offline scenario, right? Or is it just omni-channel where you see end of the day if you've done business, right? This is the blended CAC, either online, offline combined.
We have one single purview, because as soon as you start splitting online and offline, it becomes very difficult to manage the media spends, right? So we have one blended ROAS. Definitely same store growth, which are the retail metrics that you need to track. Those are being tracked on a monthly basis. But we look at blended ROAS at a city level, that how much spent have been there, how much we have done there, how much has online grown. Can't divulge the number, but we have not seen a single cannibalization in terms of online wherever we have seen stores opening.
And do you guys also measure that, okay, for example, if a consumer had started the journey online, and then, what's the influence or attribution where, the person had an offline touch point and, converted, or vice versa, starting offline and then having an online touch point, right? Those kind of things, how do you attribute those in the whole journey, and how do you merge those view?
So the most difficult thing to crack up. So you can use surrogates, and I'll tell you why it's most difficult. Because when you go to offline stores, getting a little bit technical here, you book on their order management system, right? When you book on their order management system, there is no conversion pixel firing as such, because it's not your device. So you have a person visiting, the top traffic funnel is on your website, but the purchase cycle has not been completed on your website because there is no conversion pixel. You can integrate through multiple layers, first party data, have those particular matches at 50-50 or 60%, but it is still something. Then you start using surrogates, right? You start asking users, those who have converted from offline stores, to visit your page once. Either it can be a warranty, it can be a track your order. There you start putting your conversion pixels to start offline methods. But these are all surrogates. I think the system is not yet involved in terms of the data or the GCL ID or the FB ID, or in terms of any ID passing back to the system. Second, there's always a secondary research. The best is in terms of a face-to-face interaction. You can always ask the consumer, where did you hear about us? So at least for initial 3 to 6 months, that works out well. Where you start seeing 70-80% doing digital, and then nearby stores, and then word of mouth and references. That can again act as a surrogate, but there's a human intervention. There is always a chance of manual errors there. Third is in terms of, you start seeing add to cart in that particular location. So whenever you have an online, offline, this is a peculiar behavior that we have started seeing, that add to cart of that particular city would be much higher. Because what the consumer is doing is, they are going to add to cart, they are going to the last to check out the best of the coupons and the best of the offer code. And then they decide that I will go to the store. If the store manager does not give me the same discount, then I'm going to ask him, ye to aapka dikh raha hai, iska kya hai? So then these are surrogates, and then you add up all the surrogates, and then you try to figure out a number that, how much attribution I can give to this particular platform, or how much attribution to XYZ platform.
Interesting. And you were also mentioning, right, before opening a store, the conversions and cohorts of that city, and after opening, right, you guys measure that and use that as a balance as well, right? After opening stores in that pin code or city, conversions improving, and stuff like that. Are those also some of the surrogates or insights to measure?
For once, for a D2C brand going on offline, certain metrics change after you open an offline store. It's not all about conversions. Then it starts becoming about more about how many users were there, how much was the bounce, and how much was the session rates, right? Session duration, what was there? Because when you're talking about online, it's only conversion. You have X, and then you need to have a Y conversion percentage. But how many people are aware about your stores yet? Initially, when you're doing digital advertising, it's all about the person should come and purchase the mattress. Here, you are talking about let the person come. The website also becomes a branding piece for you, the most important real estate. Let the person know that you have got 10 stores out there. They're not making a purchase right now, but they always have there in their mind that whenever I'm going to make a purchase, there are 10 stores there. So your matrix in terms of following them on a month-to-month basis changes as well after you open a certain cities. You want to have reach and frequency as well. It's not only about conversions. And as I said, that mass media, you can go after a certain store density, but for a 1 or 2 stores, it becomes more RNF on what you can drive through digital.
Interesting. So if I understand correctly, I'll quickly put it right, is the idea would be that, you get as many users to discover the brand, you look at the products, add them to the cart, because now you know that, they are in the certain stage of the funnel, and then combine offline, online experiences, right, eventually, because those would merge and, you'll have better conversions, right? Is that how you guys think about?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you build in terms of the cohorts. Like what sort of communication should go to them? When is a particular store functioning well? When they are planning to go there?
Interesting. And last piece, right, considering your category itself is also quite unique, right, where matters as a category is high AOV, users purchase those products, right, or even comfort, right, not as frequently as a lot of other brands or D2C categories. So how do you guys kind of measure retention, repeats, and all those cohorts? And how does that look like in terms of the repeats, retention, cohorts, etc.? How does it work in the category like yours?
So first is that we want to reduce the checkout to abandon time, the entire purchase cycle, and that's where the retention plays a most important role. Second, the cross-sell of the lower AOV products, right? Where you talk about a mattress with a protector, with a pillow, that retention starts coming into picture. But at the same time, you have to think that my retention would not be at T+1 or T+2. It will start kicking it at T+8 and T+10. If the particular person has only purchased one particular mattress, we assume that there is always a scope of a second and a third. And that's where we start taking T+6 and T+8 when our higher AOV retention cycle starts coming into picture. And that's where you see all the referral programs starts kicking in. You have the birthdays, you have the anniversaries, you have the products. And that's where we try to have this thing. And we have a very decent and good number in terms of repeat purchases that we are currently seeing, at least from a 1 year point of view.
Interesting. So you're saying that, in the category, you see users, because they have, homes and multiple, you also have multiple categories and solutions, right? So they end up, having a need eventually. And because this is like a once a year or twice a year category or purchase, you kind of time the marketing and efforts, etc., around those, key, festivals or moments where, there is a higher likelihood of the user to come back and repeat. Is that how the repeat, ties together for you guys?
Somewhat, yes. The only difference is in terms of the new product, new SKU launches is a different cohort altogether because we're trying and testing, right? We have seen repeat purchases for the same mattress, same different sizes, but we try to build in trust in terms of, and for us, it's very important to understand because there is a 100-night trial, right? It's very important to understand how the customer is experienced. So leave aside the retention, we have the CRM team that typically calls out the customer after 30 days that how are you feeling right now? And then we have the NPS. Then NPS goes in back to the system that this particular person rated the system as 5. Then you have 4 more communication going in terms of cross-sell and upsell. So these are the entire loop that we try to close in terms of what is the percentage of the consumer that we are saying that have given at least high ratings to us and they are happy with the product. Now they are the best target in terms of converting for us. As compared to if somebody has given that they are not happy with the mattress, they're having some issues, then our objective completely changes from retention. We don't try to cross-sell, upsell them anything at all. It does not make sense. The first problem is to solve the consumer's problem right now, which is to have them return the mattress, exchange the mattress at a particular time, solve their issues, whatsoever it takes.
Do you guys see, in India as a market, you mentioned, 100-day return policy, etc. Do you guys see people misusing it, or you seen as a good trust building lever for you guys? How has that worked out?
No, it's a misnomer. We haven't seen people coming back and saying that, I want to return it. You will always find certain cohorts that will keep coming on, but it does not add up to a substantial percentage of the overall business that 100 nights trial. Second, you need to understand the category as well. You can exchange your apparel, you can exchange your clothes because you always have an alternative to it, right? When you're exchanging a mattress, it's not that easy to just say कि यार आके ले जाओ दूसरा तो है नहीं मेरे पास, right? So people don't come to you until unless they are really in pain or they are really uncomfortable, and that's what 100-night trial we have not seen substantial return percentage as well.
Are those scenarios because of mis-selling, etc., or is it just expectation mismatch where you see people, not having the experience that you guys would have thought of? If there are any insights, customer feedback, etc., that you guys have got.
It's not mis-selling. Many a time consumer purchases that देखते हैं ये है क्या. Let's see what it does, right? So when you have 100-night trial, you will have typically between 30 to 45 days the return comes in. It's not like even people using till 100 days. Second is in terms of experience. Initially, it's all about the content, right? What they infer out of it and what they're trying to do. So that's how it works.
Interesting. Quite a good amount of insights. Now, Nirav, on the closing note, right, how does future look like for you guys, and how do you see online, offline, omni-channel evolve for you? The category evolving. How does future look like for you guys? If you can throw some more light. And
I think Omni is an extremely interesting piece. It's not a piece that only we are trying to crack. I think tech giants in terms of algorithms are also trying to crack. And then how do you have the entire purchase or the conversion cycle tied to each other platforms, right? The consumer cohort that we are optimizing for online is not exactly the consumer cohort that is coming to offline, right? Then how do you feed that back to the algorithm? You have an online which talks about luxury travelers, binge watching movies, and these are your online conversion, and you're still optimizing for that, but your offline person is somebody who is completely different. So I think lots of interesting challenges and lots of things that we need to resolve. But I think future everybody is talking about Omni and trying to work on that. I think we should be able to crack it, and I think Omni and offline, online are going to work hand in hand. Yeah.
Interesting. Just last thing, right? You mentioned about the offline personas. How are you guys able to get that personas and feedback, and then come to it centrally from stores, and then feed it back in terms of the personas and cohorts, etc. Have you guys cracked the code yet, or it's work in progress? Because like you're saying, there are two different personas. So how do you understand the offline persona much better? If you were to solve for the offline, consumers that you're going after?
It's still at a very rudimentary stage in terms of what can be done with offline data and how do you know about personas. There are few hacks to it in terms of the only thing that you need to think about is how do I get my offline customer back to my website once and what particular page, and then decide in terms of the conversion cohort. Yeah.
And have you guys created some, system like a warranty registration, etc., where you get people to come back online, or like how?
Yes, that's so both track your order or warranty registrations are two pages where the consumer has to come back.
Where the journey also stitches from the offline to online,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Interesting. Super, Nirav. Quite interesting insights, and great insights in terms of building omni-channel, thinking about both in a consolidated way. Good takeaways. Any questions? We'll open it up if there are.
I mean, just out of curiosity, because it's a mattress thing, I just read it's about some Japanese technology being used. So I suppose it must be durable for a pretty long period of time. So how do you think is the repeat customer, buying? Because mattress is something that we don't buy often. It may go for 5-6 years or maybe more than that as well. So how do you, pull the customers to buy? Or is there any upgradation that happens, or what do you strategize to make people buy it again within a shorter span of time, maybe?
So pretty interesting question, right? Things have changed from 1950s to 2020, where we are talking about 1950s. We are talking about you never used to have televisions, and then you have smart televisions. You never used to have telephones, and then you have the best of the smartphone features right there. The only thing that has not changed per se is in terms of the material that was used in mattresses, which was memory foam, which was launched in 1950, and still we still have memory foam mattresses. And that's where the difference comes in terms of a smart grid technology, right? You have to look at a body posture, and that's where we try to talk to the consumer, get them onboarded, that this is the difference in terms of what you are experiencing before and what you are experiencing right now. And then we are more than happy to have, like, for building trust, we are more than happy to give ref check of our customers as well, if at all they agree that, I'm happy to talk to a person who has done a 50 days trial or after 100 days, how they are feeling and talking about it. So, and then product speaks for itself after a certain duration.
Thank you for this. So my first question is, so for brands with low average order value around 1,000, for performance marketing strategy, they do like 1 week of testing, then from the next week, it's like basically you should start getting sales. So what's the brand marketing strategy, performance marketing strategy for a sleep company? Like spend 5 lakhs over 3 months and you should at least recover one or two beds, something like that.
So we don't look at a 7-day cycle. We at least look at a 3 or a 4-week cycle. Because that's a 21-day conversion cycle. That's when you start seeing conversions kicking into picture, right? Because if we start taking 1 week, I think every second day we are going to change creatives and everything. Ye chal hi nahi raha hai. So we have to wait at least 15 to 20 days. The only thing that we keep doing is in terms of A/B testing, in terms of retention across all the pieces, right? Let this campaign work. What different that we can do? By the time this campaign touches 21 days, we should have certain numbers. But 21 days is the max that we look at.
Yeah. So for like 21 days, at least one sale, something like that?
It's all ROAS. It's driven by this thing. A particular benchmark that we have in terms of the ROAS that we need to crack. If it's above that, then it's good. If it's below that, stop that campaign. Think about something new. Or at least optimize that campaign.
Thank you.
Hi, Nirav. It was great hearing you. I have a couple of questions, right? So multiple times we heard you speaking about user cohorts, right? So that drives the fact that, you as a brand or as, a marketeer probably are extremely data-driven, right? But very oftenly we see people talking about being data-driven, data-obsessed, right? So, is there a difference between saying that data drives my business vis-a-vis data dictates my business, and then where that leaves a space for business intuition to chip in? Because if everything is being managed like a machine learning system, so where is it that your experience chips in and says, boss, data bata raha hai, lekin why not try this? Because I feel, this is somewhere a business intuition has to happen, right? So this is the first question. If you could answer that for me, please.
No, absolutely right. I think data-driven data obsession comes in terms of, so your positioning, marketing, brand statement, the initial cohort that you think that is going to work for you, right? That would be all based on your assumptions or your gut feeling or how the market talks about it, right? Once you launch the campaign, the data has to show the numbers. If data is not showing a number, I need to go back from assumptions and I can't have preconceived notion that this is going to work. Same with store openings or same with store data, right? We don't have that much of omni-channel data. Those are surrogates that are coming into picture. But somewhere down the line, if you try to quantify, even your assumptions can be backed by data. So for example, if I have a store in Andheri Lakshmi market, right? What is the size of number of mattresses there in terms of the total size of the market? How many retail stores are there? My gut says that it's going to work fine. It's going to work absolutely fine because I'm seeing a furniture category. There are more than 10,000 residential buildings around it. There are 4 under construction. Now data comes into picture. Now you try to marry the both and then you open a store. After this, you realize that my storefront chota tha maybe. And my location went offhand. And then you start saying my cut went wrong, my data is not providing this thing. And then you go back. So I think you can marry both. But somewhere down the line, after launching a campaign, after launching something, data will always help you out.
Yeah, my question comes from the fact that you have a certain store telling you कि boss ये 3 जो products हैं अपने ये सबसे highest selling है इस particular zone में इस particular area में, right? We need to kind of ensure that we have enough supply for the product, right? But then also, is there a question or is there research being done saying that there's also an industrial area or a business sector there? So probably something of a lower AOV could also work because there could be a lot of people or coming on and staying on rental basis looking for a much cheaper options, right? So why not even have that as an option and create a better experience for them once, and let's see if it is working or not, because but then the data wouldn't say that to you, right? Your own store data will never say that to you. So how do you bring in that sort of
No, so the
idea?
best part for us is that we don't need to open a store for that. We can do drive through digital, right? Launch a lower AOV product, and then see how much of you will start getting in terms of all the data, where which pin code the data is coming from, what sector that is coming from.
But then again, creating experience, at least for the user, it's not something that it's not a dress that अच्छा fit हुआ तो ठीक है नहीं तो उसको return कर देंगे, right? At least you see on online, and can you then have an experience at the offline, because it's all about comfort, right? It's extremely important for your comfort, or it could be some other problem, sleep apnea or disorder, whatever it is, right? So in that sense, how do you understand that particular thing?
So new category launches are always there. One thing we need to understand that we are talking about omni-channel. My one experience store can't be differentiated from other experience store. My online store can't be differentiated from an experience store. So that's where we look at from an omni-channel. When we talk about the new category launches, those experiments keep happening in terms of you would have a particular state where people will say, yeah, these people are asking for this particular product. You launch in one particular store, you launch it on the online website, and then see the traction, and then you take decision based on that. But I think we are still far away from an experimental store perspective because we have lots of grounds to cover. We are only at 25 stores. I think for next 100, 150 stores, 200 stores, we are sorted. Hi, hi. Hi. Thank you so much, Avlesh. I think you answered one of the questions that how do you build trust?
No, absolutely. And I never had to go to an experience center. But then again, India is very different, different users, different buying behaviors. No, you got a great product, Nirav, and I think that's partly the reason why why you guys get the success that you do. And I wish you much more. My question largely was for the audience to sort of put, because the theme talks about longer sales cycles. Typical commerce sales cycles are very short and quick, and there is a certain way of looking at those buying behaviors from a marketing, retention, engagement standpoint. Longer cycles are very different, right? When the user takes a month to decide and buy, how do you drive engagement during that period? How do you think of it? How do you think of it from an online digital experience perspective? How do you think of it from a from an offline perspective? And then how do you think of somebody that you don't even own as a customer in the marketplaces, right? Digital marketplaces perspective. How do you sort of put it all together? What's the mental framework?
So the first part is in terms of solving the problem statement that you're working. You split into 3 parts: the top, middle, and bottom funnel, right? The top funnel talks about in terms of what is our current standing in the market. How many people have bought it, how many happy customers are there, what are we talking about. Middle funnel will talk about who are our current exactly users, right? The celebrity endorsement starts coming into picture for that. You have lots and lots of people talking about reviews. You have outside a public domain, high visitors websites, what they are talking about mattress. We are open for rankings. We provide our mattresses to customers and tell them that you have these 10 mattresses and you rank our mattress, and we are completely open that whatever you put out in the market. And that builds trust.
So trust and credibility.
Trust and credibility in the entire cycle. And then there's a thin line between going overboard because the purchase cycle is 30 days, so you don't overboard in terms of a WhatsApp message or email communication. You have to just talk about the same thing again and again at different frequency.
That's very interesting because Anand, founder of Milk Basket, was exactly talking about the same thing. being at the, he was giving an example of Indigo, Indigo Airlines, and those who were in that room would probably conquer this. The 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 fact that they harp on is that the one message they want to drive home. What is that one thing that you remember about Indigo? What is their brand messaging other than cheap? And what do you remember Indigo for? Indigo does not have comfortable seats. I'm sorry, but on time, right? A lot of people say. Now, why? The fact that you remember, so many people said on time about Indigo. It's what drives Indigo forward. Because, and he was raising these examples, right? The moment you land, it's some stupid Indigo standard time, we have landed, right? They also tell you, oh, give this garbage because we have to land on time. To eat this food because we have to land on time. Book your ticket because we have to land on time. It's just that, that messaging is given to you so many times, that becomes a part of your behavior. That's a very similar example. I am hearing this again and again in this engagement. Seems like the theme. We need to do this more often. But anyway, thank you so much, Nirav.
Thank you, Avnish.
I hope we have time for the question, right? Last one question. Okay. I was not a part of the session. Sorry for that, but I'm definitely sure because I've been following you guys over the period since 2019 when Harshit and Priyanka started this, right? Two questions. First would definitely be, what was the reason why you got into a market wherein it was already flooded with competitors or, the market giants like Duraflex, Wakefit, etc., etc. What were the challenges faced during the inception of the company? And knowing the fact that in last 4 years, you grew to a different level altogether with so many stores all across India, and congratulations for that. So what were the challenges faced and how did you overcome it? That is my first question. And second question is definitely, why is Anil Kapoor your brand ambassador? Is it because you want people to know that if you sleep on our mattresses, you will be looking much more healthier and much more fitter? Is it the reason why?
I'll answer the second question first. Because people remember Anil Kapoor. I think if you see from a marketing perspective, it makes much more sense for us that who is a sleep company brand ambassador. People might have questions, ye kyun hai? Exactly. But they remember ye hai.
True.
So that makes us a differentiator in terms of, there is no other brand which is talking about Anil Kapoor as a mattress brand ambassador. I can take competition name and I can ask questions that, do you know the brand ambassador of this? There might not be an answer to that or not. No. Yeah. The first question, I think, as an industry, again, I spoke from 1950s, the industry has not spoken about the back pain or spoken about the challenges that why you buy a mattress. That's why, started off the conversation, we said that people buy 3.5 lakh, 4 lakh bed, and then they end up buying a 10 grand mattress. आधे लोगों का interior budget खत्म हो गया और आधे लोगों को फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता कि क्या ले रहे हैं, right? And that's where we wanted to break the norm, because that mattress you're spending 1/3 of your life. You have to talk about it, you have to change it, and there are lots of use cases. We have seen people coming to us and thanking us because their back pain reduced drastically after 6 months. They had gone multiple places, right? And we have people, after launching chairs, we are seeing people coming back and telling us that I was not able to continuously sit for 6 or 8 hours on one particular location. Now I'm able to sit at least 10 hours at one. So these are the problem statements that nobody thinks, and it's became more of a commodity market where we want to become it a lifestyle product.
Thank you so much.